Your children are your most precious gift. They need your support, encouragement, and love. But sometimes families get in trouble and children are abused, neglected, or their environment becomes unsafe. That's when Child Protective Services steps in. But even though your children may have been removed, you're not alone, and you're not powerless. What you do next, and the actions you take, or don't take, play a crucial role in your life together as a family. This production was designed by Child Protective Services to answer your questions and to help you understand your role in the process. The help is there. The choice is yours. The children can't wait forever.
The county has come into your life and told you that you're not fit to take care of your children. And the initial feeling is failure, shock.
Parents feel angry, frustrated, and they feel like there is no hope.
What I had to do was give up doing it my way and listen to people who knew what they were talking about, that had walked this path and had succeeded.
Being the parent or caregiver in a child abuse or neglect case can be confusing and stressful. Not understanding the system and what is expected of you can only make it worse. Jerry Wilson is a division manager at Sacramento Child Protective Services who knows the system and how it works.
It is about the children and the safety of the children, always. We remove children in only the most severe abuse or neglect cases. Really, a very small number of children are removed from the home.
About half of all children removed from the home are reunified with their parents in just a few days. But if a petition is filed, the case goes to court and the child becomes a dependent. Parents have strict time limits for reunifying with their children, as little as 6 months for children under 3 and up to 18 months for older children. But some children can never go home. The parents must make the choice to change their lives and make their home safe, or to lose their children permanently.
This is really a crisis in the life of a family, and parents respond very differently. For some parents, it does kind of push them over the edge. Others will see it as an intervention that helps them to kind of wake up and recognize that there are things that they need to do to improve their parenting that is going to improve the safety of their children.
It's up to the parents. What they do once their children are in care is essential in determining when or if the child can come home. Many families have been in your same situation and have been successful. Vivian Hudspeth is one example. She reunified with her son and now works as a parent leader. As a former client, she offers valuable insight to the rest of the CPS staff about how services are delivered and how it feels to be a parent in the system.
We're all parents who were ex-CPS consumers, and now we help to change policy and procedures.
Angela LeBeau is another parent leader.
I thought if I could give a parent hope that they can get their kids back, then, that's what I needed to do. It also changed my life. It's not just getting my kids back, but I see an opportunity to change my life, to leave the drugs, to, do whatever it took to, change my life, keep my kids home, and raise them in a better environment.
Social workers like Nasir Mahajer are on the front line when it comes to helping parents navigate the system. Learning to trust and work with your social worker is critical. Parent leader Cheryl Penny.
Keep the social worker informed of everything. It's vital that you keep really good communication, because they are really your key to getting those kids back, and they are the conduit to the court and to other things, other agencies, and they really are there to help you. So you really need to have honest, open, constant communication with them.
The first step is to allow parents to understand that there's a process to the department coming into their lives. We just don't knock on the door and butt in. We have to have reasonable judgment that the child is at risk of some form of harm.
Factors that could lead to the removal of your children include lack of proper food, clothing, and shelter, cruelty, physical or sexual abuse by a parent or someone else living in the home, domestic violence, untreated mental illness, emotional abuse, and abandonment. When the children are removed, they may stay with an approved relative, a family friend, or a foster family. There will be 3 days between when the child is removed and the first time the parent has to appear in court. During this time, if drugs or alcohol are involved in the case, the social worker will recommend the parent voluntarily enters treatment.
We find that anywhere from probably 60 to 80% of the cases in which children are removed, there is a drug and alcohol problem. So it is absolutely critical that they address those alcohol and drug issues first.
Pamela Maxwell is a recovery specialist with specialized treatment and recovery services, also called the STARS program.
A client can either come over to the STARS program voluntarily, or they can wait to be ordered into STARS program, which could happen, within 2 months from the time the children were taken. The sooner they get into the STARS program, the better, because we're able to provide them with the services that usually came up to bring CPS into their life.
If we're going to remove a child from a parent, we have to give that parent due process to get that child back.
During this time, there are certain rights that all parents have. The right to an attorney. The right not to testify against yourself. The right to be notified of hearings. The right to ask questions of witnesses, including the police. The right to subpoena witnesses. The right to appeal the court's decision. Parents will receive a certified letter telling them when they must appear at the initial hearing. The hearings are held at the William R. Ridgway Courthouse, located off Highway 50 just east of downtown. It is important that you show up in court. If you do not, the judge may issue a warrant for your arrest.
When you do go to court, it's imperative that you are on time. It's a good idea to get there early because the parking is unpredictable. The security line going into the courtroom, you will go through a metal detector, so be prepared. There are law enforcement. The check-in, meeting with your attorney, a lot of that's time-consuming. You're told to be there at a certain time. Try to get there early.
The court has a dress code for everyone appearing in family court. Pants must not sag below the waist or be worn in any way to expose undergarments. Low-cut, strapless, or tank tops are not allowed, nor are ones that expose the midriff. Shorts and miniskirts are not allowed. Shoes must be worn. Flip-flops are not allowed. Clothing cannot contain writing or pictures that refer to violence, alcohol, drugs, or sexual matters. Clothing with predominant colors associated with gang activity shall not be worn. The court has rules of conduct for appearing in court. These include: no metal items are allowed in the courthouse. Children and their parents or caregivers must check in with the reception desk on the first floor. Parents who have had a petition filed against them must check in on the third floor. Food and drink are not permitted other than bottled water. Chewing gum is not permitted in the courtroom. Cell phones, pagers, and alarms must be turned off while in the courtroom. Your social worker can give you a complete list of the dress code and rules of conduct in the court.
Go in and you look respectable and act respectable, and I think you're going to get somewhat the respect you deserve back.
Let's start with the appointment of counsel. Ms. Steele, are you confirming appointment for the Department of Health and Human Services?
The initial hearing is when you'll be appointed a court attorney if you can't afford one on your own. Amy Steele, an attorney with Parents Advocates of Sacramento, works with parents in the system.
At the very first hearing, the judge has a packet of information which the parent will also have, and it basically lays out the reasons why Child Protective Services has come and taken the children into protective custody.
That on January 10th, 2006, the child was born positive for methamphetamines.
And the judge is not deciding at that time if those allegations are true or not. The judge is just deciding if there's enough information to temporarily detain the children out of the parent's home.
and the child is a newborn. So approximately 9 months ago, were you engaged in a sexual relationship with Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor.
The proceedings are confidential. The parents have not been charged with a crime. The judge is deciding if the children can be returned to them safely. There is no jury. A judge makes all the decisions. It's very chaotic the first time that you're here. You're going to be meeting with a lot of different people, from a social worker to your attorney. And then the judge is going to make her decision or his decision about whether or not the children can return.
The best thing you can do today is to go over to the STARS program and get started with drug and alcohol treatment.
After that, you should have contact with your attorney.
Within about 3 weeks, 15 court days, there will be a second hearing, and that's the jurisdictional disposition hearing. During that time period, in that 15-day time period, there will be a social worker assigned to further investigate the case, to look at all of the reasons why the children were brought into protective custody, to find out what kind of supports the parent has to help them take care of the children, and whether or not those supports are sufficient in order to be able to return the children to the home. It is really critical that from that first hearing that the parents find out from the social worker, from their attorneys, what steps they can take to make a difference. They may be able to impact the disposition of the case at that jurisdictional dispositional hearing.
Your social worker will meet with you to come up with a plan that includes services to help you get your life back in order. This is called your case plan.
The social worker makes an effort to really tailor the case plan to the parents' needs.
Your case plan may include parenting, alcohol and drug counseling, domestic violence counseling, individual therapy, alcohol and drug services, and it can include interactive therapy with your younger children, or parenting for adolescents if that's an issue. It will include anger management and any other services that the social worker feels are appropriate for you and your family.
The more parents understand that these services are meant to benefit and strengthen them for the return of their child, I think the more they'd be willing to participate.
It is extremely traumatic for children to be removed from their parents. Children, regardless of what has happened to them in their home, want to be back at home with their parents. And it's important that parents reassure them that they are doing their part in seeing that the children do get back home.
I tell parents this is your children, and you don't want to leave them there in the system. Get up and do whatever it takes. You can do this.
It is their compliance with the plan that the court is going to look at to determine how committed they are to making the changes in their life to ensure the safety of their children.
An essential part of your case plan is to visit with your child while they're in foster care. Studies show that parents who do this are 6 times more likely to successfully reunify.
You have to visit. Do not miss a visit. If it's at all possible, do not miss a visit. And if you have to miss a visit, please call someone to let them know.
Building that trust back is vital, and you have to do that little bits at a time.
It took me 2 hours to take the bus to a 50-minute child visit, and I had to get over it. I had to do it.
It's keeping those commitments, being there when you say you're going to. Just do the ongoing visits, because you are recreating a relationship, a healthy relationship.
Our goal is always to look at how we can help parents and children reunify. We know that the foster care system is not a good place for children to be raised.
6 months after the jurisdictional hearing, we would hold a review hearing to check on the status of your case and to see what kind of progress you've made on your case plan. If you've been participating in your services regularly and you've been making good progress in them, the judge will consider whether or not to return the children to your care at that time or whether to extend your services. If you haven't done what you're supposed to do, if you've either missed your services or you've been inconsistent in your services or you're just resistant, then the judge does have the option to terminate your services at that time.
It doesn't mean that parental rights are severed. When reunification services are terminated, that is a message to the parent that the ball is in your court, that it is now your job to take the lead in accessing services to change whatever was happening in the home that placed your children at risk.
If your services are terminated, the judge will set a hearing within 4 months to decide a permanent plan for your child, whether your child is going to be adopted, entered into a guardianship, or remain in long-term foster care.
Family reunification can seem like a long, difficult process, but there are many people to help you along the way. Social workers, attorneys, recovery specialists, and parent leaders are there to call on. They will provide the support and structure that you need during this trying time.
Everybody has a decision. You can decide whether you want your children back or not.
You really got to be open, willing to change. You know, do what it takes. I think the change is the hardest thing for anybody, is to make changes in their lives. First they got to accept that they got to do it, and then they got to actually do it.
Listen to other people. Listen to people who have gone through this path, who have walked this path.
Parents can absolutely be successful in turning lives around, and I've seen it time and time again.
It takes determination, it takes a commitment, it takes a lot of strength, but mostly it is that determination that is going to help the parent in the long run ensure that their children are returned to them.